Well, I've really been digging in and researching and really struggling to put together this plan that I promised. The plan to move forward with things like the CES and sustainable permaculture and what the plan is to get this implemented. And I finally came up with it. I'll be right back with it. Good evening. Welcome to a special presentation of Voluntary Living, the plan going forward. If you saw the live broadcast or have seen the video of that content, then you know about the CES, the Community Exchange System. You're familiar then with the concepts of sustainable permaculture and why that is so important and vital going forward. You know that we're in a period of economic and economic insecurity, food insecurity. There's a greater divide growing between the haves and the have-nots. That the wealth gap is increasing exponentially by design, by the design of the system. And so you're familiar with all these things, and so you've come now and you're ready for the plan. And I was ready to give you a plan, and I worked hard to come up with a plan. I sought counsel to develop a plan, and when no plan really developed, I mean, I came up with ideas and everything, and I went back to something my brother had asked me. He said, how would you convince someone that this is the thing to do? And I said, well, first of all, you got to eliminate the true believers, because there's no convincing the true believers, those who truly believe that the current system, the current paradigm is the best that we have to offer. There's no changing their mind. They're set in their ways. And then, of course, you've got to kind of like call out the what I call the serial killers, the bad characters who are going to do bad things no matter what laws and what regulations and what rules you put into place. So you've got to consider those as outliers. The one you can't reach, the other. Well, you can't reach either one of them. They're kind of in the same camp. And so, as I was saying that, I'm thinking, but wait a minute, what about all the anarchists and all the voluntarists and all these who've said, and those who've had those leanings, and even in the libertarian camp, and even some constitutionalists and conservatives would claim to be, more liberty leaning, and they talk about the failings of the government, but yet no solutions are offered except for operating within the system of voting. And then I realized, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm attempting to operate within the old paradigm to bring the new paradigm. That I'm attempting to give a top-down, one-size-fits-all plan that you guys can reach out and latch on to, because that's the paradigm we've been used to operating in. That someone has a plan. There's a 5-step plan for this. There's a 3-step plan for that. And the reality is that collective planning is disseminating because of advances in technology, advances in our capabilities, advancing in the wisdom, the knowledge, the intelligence that we have. So it's expanding so that, again, the expressions can be even more individuated. I mean, it's actually possible that each individual could have their own quote-unquote currency in a CES system as a rate of exchange. It could be that individuated. And so I realized it's not time for a one-size-fits-all plan. it's that old paradigm of looking for a savior, looking for a hero, looking for a high priest, looking for someone who does something to you, for you, or instead of you. And that's the paradigm that got us to this point where we are now, where we've abdicated and abrogated and cast off any personal responsibility and placed it upon those elected officials to represent us. And so I would be kind of doing the same thing. Now I can give you the framework. You've got the framework is there. You've got the things like the CES. I mean, just look at their website. There's also Solar Punk. Check these guys out. I mean, these are people trying to put all this together. See, what I'm challenging, who I'm challenging are again, the folks who've been doing the dank meme wars. If that's the only thing we can do to move us more towards freedom, and again, come on, giant meteor, wipe us out. It's time for us to do more than post dank memes. It's time for us to actually step forward and move out and go with this thing. The framework is there. I could talk on and on about the CES and about sustainable permaculture, about the evils of fiat currency, but there's plenty of information out there about that. I want to challenge you to quit your bitching, to stop complaining, unless you're willing to do something about it. See, we've got to move from that stage of somebody ought to do something to beginning to do something, and it starts with me. And see, this is the thing, because this quote, and I've had it on one of the content on one of my shows just recently with this quote from Rumi. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself. And that's where it's starting. And that's, when I come on and do the voluntary living program from now on, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing and where we're missing it and where we're getting it and going forward. Because the thing is, again, as I said in the live presentation, the case for anarchy. It's a good video, worth seeing. It's time to underthrow the current system, and we can't operate within that system. We got to operate outside of that system. It's time for a new paradigm. It's time for a paradigm that says the individual is superior to the group. And so for us, this is our step to get off the grid, and that doesn't mean completely off the grid as far as the solar panels, which we've got some solar panels, we've got some rainwater collection, and things like that. But even so much as the sustainable permaculture we're setting up here to feed ourselves, but even further than that, of getting detached from the grid system, the system of fiat currency, of finding other ways to obtain things than through spending fiat currency. And again, incremental steps, because every step establishes a foothold, and every step establishes that as a pattern. It's going to take a while for us to overcome some of those patterns. It's easy to automatically grab the car keys and head down the road to the supermarket rather than trying to find an alternative. So what we're going to do is start with the easy things first. For us, a lot of that involves the sustainable permaculture, but also looking for opportunities to spread the good news of things like the community, the CES, the community exchange system. Here, with our farm here, we will be operating as a community supported agriculture unit, where we'll actually sell shares in the produce that we have to families so that they can buy into it. But I will operate only through the CES system. And then also to promote that, I'm converting any of my consulting business, any of my energy healing business. I also do Reiki for dogs. I'm really good with dogs as far as healing, helping dogs heal. And all of that, I'm going to move over to CES and try to and commit to operating as much on that system as possible. But then I've got to get some buy-in from the community, because the thing is that we cannot exist on our own. That we need some buy-in, and that starts not again within the system, but those who the system has spurned the most. So I'm going to be going into the homeless, those who are working with the homeless, and explaining the community exchange system and how it benefits that particular community, how it can provide some economic freedom, and how it can actually increase the value of what they do. Again, inflationary dollars, taxes. Ad infinitum, we've gone over it. So it's there for you to find out. And so those are the steps. So I'm going to be contacting those people who are working in those communities, and also working to establish something within our community here, not just downtown, but here, because we have a rather large homeless population. There's because we have a busy interstate exchange with a heavily littered area around, and that's generally becomes campsites. And so there are opportunities here as well. And I believe that's the difference with what's going on here, is because it is a from the bottom up. It is a truly grassroots movement. It is not from the top down, from on high, because it's like I said several times, that when inflation hits, the 1% is not going to. A month of inflation is nothing, but for a lot of us, a month of inflation, can throw our budget out, where we're looking at possibly, choosing between rent and groceries, and it's unfathomable for me to imagine that we as a race, as a people, as humanity, can have the absolute excesses that we do, and still have folks who are lacking and in need in this world. And it's all because of the corporate system. So that's the real struggle here, is to find those who are disgruntled enough to step out. So I'm going to do my part, and drop me a message or something. Let me know, if you want some information on starting a CES. Yeah, I'm willing to help you implement what you're doing, but just like with my healing practice, I'm not a healer. I facilitate healing, and I want to facilitate your liberty, because it's got to be your liberty. It's got to be your freedom. Because if it's my idea, eventually, somewhere down the line, no matter how good my idea is, you'll tire of it. It's got to be yours. It's got to be your heart. And I know there are those out there. I hear how disgruntled you are. Don't let it take a major catastrophe. Don't let it take. I shouldn't say that. Let it take whatever it will, but be prepared. Be prepared. The framework is there. If nothing else, start putting a little flesh on the framework. What will it hurt you to enroll in a community exchange system? It's based on the same ledger system as the cryptocurrencies. So it's the ledger balances out every day. The number of deposits equal to the number of withdrawals every day. There's no debt in the system whatsoever. But not only that, but what has happened with our outsourcing the governance of our lives to others is that we move in schools rather than as individuals. That we constantly are moving in a mob mentality. but it's time for us to start thinking as individuals. And this is the way forward. If you want to go forward, you've asked for answers. I can't say it again enough. But you've asked for answers. The answers are here. And as for me and my house, we're going forward. And I hope you will too. Peace.